Hey, my friends. You know what? I'm so bummed. My internet is not doing great right now. And I just see the wire. So I have a feeling this is all going to be a little choppy again. I need to get a cord to plug this in. Hey, how are you doing? How is everything in your world? Sunday night, 6 o'clock, and I'm here talking about the big 6 lies that we believe that often stop us from getting what we really want in life. Hey, over here is a huge category. You can't even see, you only see like a quarter of them. I've got a whole table full of books I'm getting rid of. If anyone is interested in some great self-development books, trying to get rid of a bunch. I want to keep on wondering how I can put those out there for people to just, I'm happy to mail them to people if people want them. It's good. I'm so excited. Hey, I'm doing this Facebook Live really in prep for the Wednesday Moffitt Talk Live workshop that I'm doing on rejection. And I personally am so excited about it because this is one topic that I really need help with. And I always find that when I teach something, I obviously learn something from it. And I'm really excited about the potential of desensitization around rejection. Like, how do we set up some experiments for ourselves to really test the waters in a safe and controlled way, so that we get used to it? And because we all have wild stories around what rejection is, for sure. I'm thrilled to be here with you tonight, and we're going to just kick this off with this idea. What do you think about this? That rejection is full of lies that we believe about ourselves. Ooh, that's a really deep thought, isn't it? That's from a guy named Scott Allen, who wrote a book called Rejection Free. He says again that rejection is full of lies that we believe ourselves. We believe about ourselves. What do you think that means? But any thoughts on what you think are in those lies when it comes to rejection? It really is such a painful experience when we are rejected by people, whether it be in love relationships or in the career or trying to do things or ask for things. I think asking for things can be super hard for people. So all of that to challenge ourselves. The lies that we believe are the things that keep us trapped, just living in a cycle of rejection. Sometimes people will live out the expectations of being rejected, and then are rejected, and then are just confirm the experience that they think they were going to have, right? So we start believing we're going to be rejected, and then we behave in a way that is going to get us rejected. And then when we're rejected, we're just confirmed that, of course, I'm rejected. And we tell all kinds of stories and lies about that rejection about ourselves. And truly, and I think I've struggled with this as well, but one of the biggest struggles that most of us on this planet, at least in our Western culture, will ever face is just learning to truly accept ourselves as we are right now, which doesn't mean that we still don't want to learn and grow. And instead, we often think that we have to fix something in order to get somewhere, that there's something wrong with us, and inherently there's an unworthiness or we're not enoughness. And that can lead to just further and further rejection or type of controlling behavior that will get us rejected by others. I wish I could say I was totally free of that. Certainly not. So if you want to come to the Moffitt Talk on Wednesday, just know that I am certainly not going to be speaking to you from a place of I've totally got this thing figured out. I am a work in progress, just as anyone else is in that area. But I want to tell you about 6 big lies. So let's go with the first big lie, and that is, it's really important for everyone to like me. And listen, I know it's easy to say, oh, I don't believe in that. But how often do you do things because you don't want to upset other people? How often do you go out of your way or schedule yourself in such a way that you continue to say yes to things, even when you don't want to, even when it's not on your schedule time? Our efforts to please the people that in the long term just really don't even matter to us in order to avoid hurting them, is if we were really truthful with ourselves, what we're really doing is not trying to not hurt them. It's really us trying not to be rejected. Ooh. Because we're afraid if we hurt them, they're then going to reject us. So if we could peel back that layer and actually be more truthful with ourselves, that's really at the core of that, which really just keeps us on a never-ending treadmill of trying to keep up with everybody's expectations for our life. Having boundaries, and even more, having opinions, because listen, if you are trying to agree with everyone or placate everyone, and you don't, stand up for your own opinions, well, you agree with no one. You can't agree with everyone. And when you try to please everyone and end up pleasing no one, especially yourself. Having boundaries and allowing people to know where you stand on things is truly an act of kindness, not just to yourself, but to other people too. And it's one of the reasons why I personally love being a part of the Journey Life Coaching School and their training, because they are so good. So good. Probably more than any other organization I've worked with or been a part of stating just so clearly what they will or will not stand for. And not only internally, but in the world at large too. And that means that there's going to be some people who don't like it. And that means that there's going to be some people, when you're willing to stand up for your own convictions and who you are, that are not going to like you. That's the truth. Big lie number 2 is that when I'm rejected, it means that something is wrong with me. Oof, that's a painful one, isn't it? And isn't that where we normally go, to that idea of when I'm rejected, there's got to be something wrong with me, right? But truthfully, that's only true. I'm going to say the word true so many times. If you believe that you're rejected, that there's something wrong with you, that is only true if you believe it to be true. In the end, it's how you experience rejection, or how your perception of the experience of rejection is everything to do with how you're going to deal with it. 2 people could have the exact same experience. Perhaps 2 coaches who offer up their packages, their signature packages to potential clients. And one person is rejected and is devastated and said, I can't do this again. This is just too hard. It's too hard. It is hard. And the second person says, oh, well, who's next? It's our perception of the rejection that makes it personal or not, or it means that it's wrong, making something wrong with us. So being able to learn how to tell a different story about rejection or what it is super important. Because here's the real deal. People are often rejecting us without any reason about us. When we get rejected, it's for people's own reason. And it's so funny because I was doing research on this topic when my door knocked earlier this morning, and it was my lovely building manager, Pam, who often stops by with little treats for me. Well, I'm really trying to watch my sugar intake right now, and she had these 4 beautiful donuts, and she asked me to pick one. And I looked at them, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Pam, I don't want to take one. And I saw the look of rejection in her face. Like, she was really hurt that I did, I don't know if she bought any of those donuts specifically for me, but I just didn't want to bring it into my house because I knew I would eat it. But I had to tell her, oh, no, it's not about you or the donuts. It's actually just me. I'm trying not to eat as much sugar. But I could see the hurt in her when it came up. And isn't that the truth? I'm sure she was quickly going to be able to make a story about why I was rejecting her in that moment. People reject you for their own reasons. We may never know what those true reasons are. And it says way more about them than it does you. So keep that in mind. All right. Rejection number 3, or our big lie number 3 is, this is a tough one, because if you've been rejected at a young age or really struggled with this, the number 3 is, I'm just someone who's easily rejected. I'm going to be rejected the rest of my life. Now, here's the deal. We're all going to be rejected the rest of our life. There's no way to turn this off. There's no magic pill I can give you that's going to tell you you're never going to be rejected again. I wish I could, but I can't. And if you really struggled with receiving a lot of rejection early from your family or your school, it can really create a scarring situation, because rejection is so painful that the same area of your brain lights up when you have a physical pain, like someone punches you or a baseball bat into your knees, right? There's an area of your brain that lights up. But that same area of your brain lights up when you get a social rejection from your parents, colleagues, others, peers. It is measured like a physical pain. It's often why most of us probably remember our rejections more than remember our bruises, because there is emotion that came along with it. And if we don't treat that, it can go on it really can go on as a permanent condition. But what I'm so happy to tell you is our brains are live wiring constantly. So you really can train yourself to build more resilience around rejection. You can get better at it. And this is the thing, that if you're someone who's experiencing a lot of rejection, again, I want you to go back to that idea. It's your perception of that rejection. Because I want to give you, I'll tell you that in a second. But people are rejected just as much as they make their minds up to be. So if you have someone who, ends a relationship, or you get tossed from a job, or certainly that is going to be painful. But how you actually look at and interpret that experience for yourself is going to send you down one or two paths. One where you will be devastated for maybe the rest of your life. You may not ever get over it. And another perception you can have is, I wonder where I go next. What's the next experience I have? That it doesn't create your identity. It creates an experience. All right, big lie number 4. I love this one. I'm weird and different, and that's why I'm always rejected. I love this because I love my weird and different people. I just do. And the reason why is because there's just a willingness not to try and live out the norms of what society is trying to tell you it's supposed to be. Because I know the people who are trapped in that gerbil wheel are exhausted. And they're the ones who are most judgmental about other people, because they're on this gerbil wheel and they want everybody else to get on this gerbil wheel. But our weirdos and the people who are standing out of the crowd, who might get rejected from these normal sounding people, are creative and lovely. Yes, 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 exactly. I love that, Sandy. Sandy just wrote, we can use rejection to learn about the other person too. It's not just about us, for sure. Rejection says so much more about the other person than it does you. I love that. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the one thing that I think, if we tell ourselves, going back to this lie number 4, that I'm often rejected because I'm a weirdo or I'm just different, is what really happens in that scenario is that you're not being rejected by the other external people. What's really happening first is you're rejecting yourself. And I think that is one of the critical things that I see with a lot of people is they're so worried about not wanting to be rejected by others that they're rejecting themselves to try and placate and pretzel themselves into a mold that they think other people want out of their life. So they inherently reject who they are. I love this idea of just even trying to figure out what is normalcy. And what I hope to be able to look at is when I see normalcy, is there any way that I could be something other than normal? Because how can you stand out in a crowd of just a bunch of normal people? Number 5, this is probably one that I've used a lot. It's a big lie. I'm going to just face it here. But it might be a saying that if only I were better or smarter or younger or thinner, I wouldn't be as rejected as I am. Gosh, I don't think I say that as much anymore. That doesn't feel good in my body for sure. But I think if we are doing the comparison game, this is a huge one. If you're someone who gets on social media, and I'll be real with you, I can't stay on social media too long because this is where I go. I can start getting the comparison mode of, oh, look what they're doing. They're doing so great. I was just on Instagram earlier, and someone I really admire, and she's an ancillary or outside, not a close friend, but someone I really admire. She's written a book. She's got a great podcast. And I have met with her. And it's so funny because I met her at the very beginning of her career, and she was coming to me for advice. And now I see her and she is just blown up. She's just doing such great, amazing things. But it was one of those things of like, oh, if only I knew what she knew, because she was also a marketer. She's so good at what she does. That there's this little limiting thing that comes in, right? The moment I say that, I can feel the cut happen. Or if only I had what she had, if only I could be in his position. Why is this happening to me? Why am I always excluded, right? When we make all of this personal to ourselves, we make it our personality. But these expectations that we have about who we're supposed to be, they aren't really ours. We've absorbed them in from our media, from expectations, from family, from peers. We have this story of who we think we are instead of being able to just accept who we are in this moment. You might have had pressures to perform when you were younger. I know and have worked with a number of people who didn't feel like they could get all the love from their parents if they weren't performing at a high level with grades and extracurricular activities. Now, that might not have been the truth, but that was what their perceptions were. And as long as you're trying to fill the expectations of other people, you're going to get caught in that rejection zone over and over and over again. But truly, those self-expectations, that perfectionism that you think you need to deliver, that perfect way that you think you need to show up, we're the ones that can often set the bar so high for ourselves that we're going to be rejected by ourselves. And number 6, I can't succeed because I keep getting rejection. I'm just going to get rejected over and over again. And I think I should just give up. And what I want to tell you right now is, my dear friend, if you've ever thought that, if you've ever thought, I just don't get it, I'm just getting rejected and rejected over and over again, I want you to really tune into me. Don't stop. If it's something you really want and you just haven't yet figured it out, it's okay, but don't stop. And here's why. I think there are so many sources that you could look at of people who just kept going in the face of adversity, in the face of being rejected over and over and over again, who eventually found their yes. Yes lives in the land of no. But sometimes you have to go through a lot of no's to get to it. I love the stat because I worked for KFC all through high school. But did you know Colonel Sanders went to over 1,009 restaurants in his 60s before he found one that would buy his recipe? I think of that and I'm like, the persistence to do that. Isn't that crazy? But what a payoff. What are you willing to do in the face of countless no's that might eventually get you to a yes? One of my mentors, Rich Litvin, talks about one of his clients, and I met him on a phone call when he was first becoming a coach. And I love what one of the things that Rich Litvin talks about is we have to be careful what we track. That sometimes when we try and track the outcome, we're going to feel so failed that we won't continue. But if we just track the process, what can we track in the process? And so this guy started tracking how many offers of coaching he made. And I think he was charging like $6,000 for 6 months of coaching or something like that. And he ended up doing over 79 offers with a no and a no and a no and a no until he finally got his yes. And then in a matter of 2 weeks, he got 4 more because he had learned so much in just continuing. You can't be bogged down by 1 no or 2 no's. This is the land where you have to continue to try and just try something slightly different. Just hone something 1% better so that you can continue to hone the message, hone the effort, continue to hone what it is you want to create and do until one day your yes is undeniable. It doesn't happen when you first begin. And it can be so disheartening for sure. But you have to keep going. You just have to. My friend, those are our 6 big lies. Hey, I want to tell you, if you want to come and have a talk with me about rejection, I'm going to do a 90-minute workshop. It's part entertainment. I'm going to tell you some of my real rejection stories. We're going to go over really how do we deal effectively with rejection. This was just a nice little icebreaker, but I want to really help you learn how to ask for what you want and be able to do it in such a way that gets you what you want and also allows you to deal with the rejection when you get the inevitable no, right? And so that you can do it. And I want to give you some experiments to try. I want to give you a 30-day challenge to try with me that I'm going to be tracking with myself. Yeah, I love it. I'm so glad, Juliana, you're here. So that's going to be Wednesday night. I'll put a link right here in the chat box. Let me put that in right now. If you're interested in coming to that, no worries if you're not, but I'll send out, if you can't join us, I'll send out the recording of it. Hey, I'll try it in just a second. For all of you who are watching, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Sandy. I love this topic. I think I love this topic because I've suffered in this topic for a long time. I have played so small. I've been so scared to ask for what I want. I've been the good girl, oh my gosh, for so long in my life, Stepford child, good girl. And it didn't really get me what I wanted in life. And so learning how to ask, I'm still in the process of really learning. And so I'd love for you to come on the journey with me. And if this is something that you are interested in, please join me. I'll see you next Sunday, y'all. 6 o'clock every time I'm here. We'll talk about something fun next week too. Bye, everybody.